Thanks for joining us for another episode of Anchors Away. It's a great opportunity for some of the anchors here at KARK to get away from our normal setting, that being a newscast, giving you news of the day to kind of talk about some of the things that have been kicking around the newsroom, perhaps some of the things you're talking about. Today we're going to talk about, of course, early voting. That started this week, an extremely important issue. A lot of people say early voting is kind of boring, but it's probably one of the most important things that we can talk about this week leading up to the midterm elections. Also, on that note, we're going to talk about the Little Rock mayoral race. Ashley Katz has been out following some of the candidates. We're going to get a little insight from her. And then we're going to talk about our Victory Over Violence campaign, a little bit of the origins of it, why we're doing it, and where we are headed next. So let's get started, guys. Thanks again for joining us. For early voting, that started on Monday. And this is always kind of, it seems like a time for a lot of these polling places around the state to kind of work out the kinks. You know, because inevitably something goes wrong. We saw something in Garland County. A candidate was left off the ballot. They got that worked out, which is great. Do you guys early vote? I think a lot of folks kind of think, I like to early vote because get it out of the way. Some people, I like to vote on election day because I like to talk to people on election day who are voting and kind of get their insight.
Why is everybody looking at me?
Because I just go down that way, then come back this way.
I vote in every election, but I make an educated vote. I study the issues. It's important, especially the questions. You know, issues. Well, there were 5. They're down to 3. The Arkansas Supreme Court knocked out the tort reform, as well as the term limits. But educate yourself on it, and I think early voting is a good thing because, like, especially with our schedule, guys. I mean.
True.
You never know. Something could pop up.
Something can pop up. You may not be able to get there. There could be long lines. I like early voting, but not too early. Some states do it up to 30 days.
Like around noon, not 7?
Well, no, I don't get up before noon. You know, not more than 30 days before the election. I like Arkansas. It's a couple of weeks, and it includes Saturdays at specific places, and I think that's not a bad thing. The more people that can participate in our republic, we're not a democracy, we're a republic, constitutional republic. I think it's important people have an opportunity to get out and make their choices, but educated ones. Make sure you educate yourself on the issues.
Early voting, good thing for busy moms.
Very good. You know, and I'm like you, Bob. I like the camaraderie. I like election day. It's exciting to be at the polls. This year, I think I need to early vote. I've always been on the morning show before, so I had the time. But now, being at work, I would hate to miss out and then just not get my vote in. Wouldn't that be terrible not to have time to vote? So,
Ashley, you were out with a candidate yesterday. Any discussion on the early voting?
A lot of people voting yesterday as soon as the polls opened. There was a big rush. There was a long line to vote, but one of the voting machines went down, so that was kind of a problem. So they went from 5 to 4. So that you just kind of have to have patience when you early vote or if you vote on the day of, because something's going to go wrong, and the poll workers are doing the best that they can. So we saw that yesterday, but then as the day went on, there was no line. So it's like an ebb and flow throughout the day.
And you know, let me mention, be a poll worker if you want. You know, those are, and I think for the most part, volunteer positions. I think. I don't think they get a salary. So, you know, be a poll watcher or poll worker. Help out if you can, especially if you have some time. You know, if you're retired or. You know, for us, we don't go to work until later in the day, and that way you can help people participate in this grand
That's
experiment.
what it's all about, too, is
really
participating. I mean, whether you vote early or vote on election day, you should vote.
And the Garland County issue that happened yesterday morning, just as the polls opened, just like you said, issues happen. They have to work the kinks out. Susan Inman, whose name was left off the ballot, was actually on our noon show yesterday talking about that issue. And this was interesting because Mitch McCoy covered the story. If you didn't see the story, her name was left off the ballot. They suspended voting for a few hours, and then it was back up and running. Everything is fine. Everything is smooth now. But 222 ballots were cast. And so our first question to Mitch, the reporter, was, you know, what did they do? Did they go find those people? Mitch said that those are it's just the way it is. And it's something called voter responsibility. It's one of the rules with the Election Commission. Voter responsibility. I guess the voter, you know, you should be informed enough that you notice, or if not, then that ballot is counted. So we may hear more about this down the road.
It's basically on you to know if you want in to vote for that candidate and they're not on the list, then you should call attention to the poll worker, and which is what happened, but not after.
If you've got a question, ask someone a question.
And they will help you. Like my daughter voted for the first time in the primaries this year. She was 18, and you know, like most kids, you know. So we went down to the polling place, and you know, I helped her get educated on the candidates and some of the issues that we had in Saline County. And I went with the poll. I talked to the poll worker. I said, "Can I accompany her to the the ballot box. And you have to sign a form saying that you're not going to pressure the person, but it was a good experience. So if you've got an 18-year-old voting for the first time, participate with them and show them how it's done.
I would take my daughter, I would take Karsten to the polls and just kind of let her see what's going on so she understands the process. I remember my parents taking me, it was the '72 presidential election, to the polls when they voted, and I was fascinated by the whole process. I mean, it's very interesting. So get them involved as early as you can.
I remember too going as a kid.
Yeah,
so.
it was always, they let me, but no, they didn't.
Let you choose.
Well, they had the old machines. Remember those old voter booths? You put the curtain around, and then you click the lever.
And
old school.
Don't you love the current days that with social media, if you don't post your I voted sticker, it's like you didn't vote.
Right.
I mean, you see, which I love that people post them. But it only counts if you post that sticker.
Boy, so many people around the world do not get the opportunity to vote. So think about how precious that is. But voting now, Little Rock, we're voting for a new mayor. The city of Little Rock, you had a chance to be out. You were out with a candidate Monday, and then you're going to be with a few more this week.
That's right. We're going to hit all the top candidates, and it is a kind of a crowded field. For the first time, we've seen this kind of competition. We haven't had a new mayor in more than 12 years now, so a lot of interest in this one. People want change, but you've got to look into these candidates and see kind of what their direction is, and that's kind of what we're doing. They're very different. The guy that I was with yesterday, Vincent Tolliver, he's run for office, but it was in 1996.
Oh, wow.
So his political career, I mean, it really, there isn't one there, but he's very active in the community. He's a volunteer with LRSD. He's also a writer, and he's involved in the arts. So his background is different. So you're going to see there's some different ideas out there.
Homework you've got to do.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we're doing this week, is trying to get to know the candidates.
Who else will you be with this week?
You'll see on the ballot. We'll be with Baker Curris, Frank Scott Jr., and Warwick Sabin. So we've got a busy week.
We've got a busy week.
And all that will be here on KRK.com.
And you're spending the whole day with them, and that's what I love about what you've been doing, is that you're seeing not only how they feel about the issues, but also what a day is like, which is just, 2 weeks until Election Day. It's nonstop.
It is, and they have so much energy. I mean, one day kind of wiped us out, and there were three of us and one of them.
It's a great perspective, because usually what we'll do as reporters, we'll parachute in for about 30, 40 minutes, talking to these people, watch them shake hands, and then we're out and we do the story. But this is a full day. Right,
and one of the candidates, he stopped and took the time to vote. He's like, I normally don't do this, but I want to send a message that early voting, it's there. Use it, go ahead and early vote if you can.
Now, I was going to say, Little Rock, the mayoral race is nonpartisan, right?
It is.
So there's not an R, a D, an L,
or whatever. You won't see that on the ballot. So yeah, you kind of have to do your research.
No, it's unique. I mean, a lot of cities do have partisan elections, but nonpartisan means they're not running under any party banner.
Right.
They have ideologies, but and that I think even more so makes it more necessary for you to investigate where they stand on issues, and if that if you can agree with most of those, then that would be your candidate.
And this is just one municipal race that's being decided in the state of Arkansas. There are so many out there. We're going to try to cover as many as we possibly can. But of course, get out there, do your homework when it comes to voting, early voting, or voting on Election Day. Another thing I wanted to talk about was victory over violence. This is something we started. Boy, when did we start this?
I think 2 years ago, almost in January.
It's kind of where we decided that rather than just report the events, and generally they were all, it started when a toddler got shot. We all started talking about we've got to do something else other than just report on these events. And that's when we decided to get Victory Over Violence together. Austin Keller, my news director, kind of said, let's get together, let's do something. And it was just kind of a coming together of communities. Let's get out and let's start with these victory walks. And it was a way for everyone to get out and share their thoughts about what's happening in the community. Also get law enforcement out there and city leaders, where a lot of ideas have been exchanged. You guys have pretty good experience with those? We've got one coming up.
I've always been impressed by just the people that take pride in their city. I've seen people come in from outside of Little Rock just to participate because they love this city too, even though they don't live here. So what's cool is just seeing the communities come together. We're even going to take it outside of Little Rock and give Pine Bluff a chance.
We're going to Pine Bluff
to rally around their law enforcement and their community leaders.
Yeah, there it is. We'll be there at 9:30 at Central Park. That's this Saturday. A lot of things going on, and one of the big things is, and this is kind of something that, we do it whether it's in a neighborhood here in Little Rock or it's going to be in Pine Bluff. We encourage this to continue. Keith, right? Community involvement is key.
Yeah, pick up the torch. We're running the torch to Pine Bluff. We've run it into some different areas of Little Rock. Pick up the torch, become involved in your community. And we see that with National Night Out. A lot of folks come out in the community, and I think community involvement is important. It's just not the police patrolling. It's citizens caring about where they live, caring about the kids, caring about their aunts and uncles and their grandparents. It's your home.
Yes.
That's what
Make
it is.
it what you want.
While these happen, and we obviously do stories on them, this could also happen in smaller pockets. Just to get together with folks that you know in the area and say, hey, let's go have a cookout. Let's talk about
Have
what's
a block
happening
party.
out here.
Yes.
Have a block party, exactly.
Get to know your neighbors, because it's something, it's not like it used to be. People are not out like they used to be in their lawn chairs watching their kids ride bikes. I wish we still lived like that, and maybe there are, and I hope there are. I wish I lived in a neighborhood where that was the case, but it's more important than ever that we band together with our neighbors. Going to Pine Bluff will be really special as well. My old co-anchor, Matt Mosler, who I love dearly, will be a part of it, and he left our morning show a few years ago to start a church, to launch New Life Church in Pine Bluff. And he had said for many years working with him on the desk, he said, I have a heart for Pine Bluff. This is an amazing city. The potential is incredible for this city.
Yeah.
And he had a heart, and he took that, and he's launched this church and is doing some really neat things there.
Moved his family there.
Moved his family there.
That says a lot.
Moved his wife, his son and daughter-in-law, who are expecting a baby. So happy for them.
Oh my
and
God, already, Matt.
Already, are you happy? It's going to be
Time flies,
grandpa.
time
So it's really neat, and love to see the people serving and helping, and this is going to be a great town to be in this weekend.
All right, guys. Well, thanks very much. Appreciate your time again this week, and want to thank you very much for joining us for Anchors Away. If you get the opportunity to get to Pine Bluff, the Victory Over Violence Walk is at 9:30 Central Park at Pine Bluff. Certainly hope you get the chance to come on out. Have a great week, everybody.